From the native and familiar to the exotic and rare, the Missouri Botanical Garden has over 27,000 plants on permanent display. But there is another part of the garden, one that is seen by very few, that holds around 8 million specimens collected from all over the world. In stark contrast to the vibrant, living beauty found in areas like the Rose Garden or the Climatron, the plants at the Herbarium are frozen in time, preserved at the moment of collection for research and reference.
Yeah, this is in from the savannas in Brazil.
The Herbarium receives boxes every week filled with samples that need to be documented, described, and named. This process turns a dried plant into a specimen.
It's got a label that says where and when it was collected. It has an identification, and that's not always easy because the garden works in tropical areas where we're the first exploration in. Nobody's been there before. So I have to document the species, and that includes giving them scientific descriptions for the first time. And that's when you get to name them.
Botanist Charlotte M. Taylor holds the distinction of naming more species of plants than any other woman alive.
Charlotte is a legend. There's no other way of putting it. She has a great deal of expertise in plant taxonomy, so the classification of plants, especially in the coffee family. But she's also a really massive expert in plant nomenclature, which is a complex set of rules that have been put in place to make sure that plants are named correctly and consistently across the world in an unambiguous way.
So, of course, the burning question is, how is a plant's name chosen?
We have a code of nomenclature rules. Article 29.1, the name of a species is completely arbitrary and may be anything as long as it uses the Latin alphabet. We try to put something in it to remind people of what it is, where it's from, what color the flowers are. We often name things for botanists because it's kind of an honor. A lot of people work hard and risk their lives, and this is all you get. You're going to name a species name for you, and hopefully it's a nice one. Sometimes it's an ugly one.
There's more to plants in the herbarium. There are a lot of stories of botanists, stories of places and the people and the cultures.
This is one from Ecuador. And this is named, it was discovered by my colleague David Neal, who has worked in Ecuador for 50 years. But he said that it's important in the indigenous communities down there that it has a sweetening effect like stevia does, and that they put it in drinks and things. And so we named it Dulcifolia, sweet leaf.
The Herbarium's enormous collection, started in the 1840s, is a testament to the courage and tenacity of many botanists over the years.
I initially thought I was going to be a pre-med, and then on a whim I took a field botany class and absolutely loved it. And I thought, well, there's no going back.
Heidi Schmidt's love of plants has taken her all over the world, from China to Madagascar, the harsh climates and sleeping rough, all part of the adventure.
I enjoy doing fieldwork, personally. I love it. Fieldwork has always been thought of as something like a male-dominated field because you need to be physically strong. Traditionally, women have not been thought as capable as men. And it's not just being physically strong, it's having other attributes too, the ability to recognize plants in the field, the ability to work well with others because you're in a field situation where not everyone is maybe from the same country. I have seen improvement. That's not to say that I'd like to see more.
Carmen Polisi's work has taken her to almost every country in Southeast Asia, collecting and teaching others the skill of plant identification.
It is actually less glamorous than it sounds. I usually go to remote places in forests and collect plants and press them, dry them, and then bring them back to my institution and to the local herbaria for study by specialists, including myself.
Just for the record, we do not work alone in any country. We work in collaboration with people in country, and our overall goal is capacitation so that people in those countries can take over doing this.
Charlotte spent years in the field herself, mostly in South America, before the garden decided to use her talents in a different way.
They changed my job to something I find super cool. I write reference books. I'm the person that writes the book that you need to use to identify plants and to do your ecological work. And about half of what I do is collect known information, and half of it is I figure out the things no one knows.
Charlotte works on Rubiaceae, or the coffee family. It's one of the largest in the plant world and has given her plenty of puzzles to solve.
One group of plants in my group is poisonous. They grow where the cattle are in Brazil and Colombia and Venezuela. And the cattle are not from South America, so they don't know what's good and what's bad. So they eat these plants, and there's a chemical in there, monofluoroacetate, that is as poisonous as cyanide. And so the cattle eat the plant and they fall over dead, literally. There are pictures of them like lying there. And there are a lot of similar plants, so I went in to try to help identify. And my colleague from the Department of Agriculture, he was working with the Brazilians, and he took samples of this looking for poison, and we build sequentially on the work we do. So he put this label on saying who sampled it for chemicals when. So he analyzed our specimens. So we had documentation of what species grow where. I had the identifications on them, and he knows which ones are poisonous. To get from the one little level of data I take to a bigger picture of life and a bigger hypothesis and put more information together, it takes people who know different parts.
Heidi Schmidt added to her own taxonomy and systematics background and completed training in conservation assessment, allowing her and Charlotte to collaborate on work around the specimens collected in Madagascar.
And this is something that's very useful to sort of give people a broad idea of the risk of extinction for certain species. And so Charlotte was very interested in being able to include this information with all these new species that she's been describing. Madagascar is a very unique opportunity to work on a flora that's not very well documented, that is incredibly unique with almost 90% endemic plants to the island. It's an island that needs study now, and there's just so much baseline data we just don't have.
The immense amount of baseline data housed in the herbarium is an important form of record keeping, providing a view not just into a plant's past, but also into our planet's future.
Through historical collection, we have snapshots of what a given area would have been 200 years ago, 100 years ago, and then 50, 20, 10, 5 years ago. And monitoring the plant diversity also allows us to understand where we are going, how fast, and what direction, because they are the best indicators of environment or environmental change.
Though the work that Charlotte, Heidi, and Carmen are doing is important, they also put a lot of energy into encouraging and including those who historically have been overlooked or undervalued.
Science has always been a white male-dominated environment, and that means that there's a very restricted niche. I think that the solution to the problem is diversity.
I'm very much encouraged by the collaboration and team aspect that we have here at the garden. You want people to bring new ideas, and not only new ideas, but you want people to challenge you.
That's where you get originality, and that's where you get innovation.
We're all smarter together. People come in with the most surprising ideas because they lived a different life.